Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to catch up a little bit farther on this KX500 into the Takati 4 frame, the aluminum frame. The last time you saw this, the motor was mocked up. Bottom end was done, but it was just in primer and we had things mocked up. But you can see motor's fairly farther along. After I get the bike all done and shipped back to Joel, I'll probably post a video on building the motor, but take a little bit of a look around. You can see we vapor blasted the cylinder in the head, painted the cases. That is 2008 to 2012 Kawasaki KX green. Believe it or not, that green changes over the years, so it's a bit more of a brilliant green. It's a little darker in color when it's in the sunlight. The LED lights that are in the shop and the phone make it look a little bit more neon green, but it's actually a little bit darker green. I can see we scrounged up some chrome-plated acorn nuts. Those are actually head nuts for a 650 jet ski. So they're a corrosion-resistant alloy that are chrome-plated. We did the same thing down here on the cylinder base nuts. You can see we got some nice acorns there. That way, when you're out riding in the dunes, you won't have rusty studs sticking out. The electric starter's all installed. The stator's all timed. If you recall, in the last video, we did some modifications to align the chain properly. When we did that, we moved the front sprocket out 1/4 of an inch. And in order to do that, we actually had to go back and machine some material off the back right here. Sorry for the shaky video. Had to machine some off of that to get this chain guard moved out 1/4 of an inch. You can see actually I moved it about 5/16 of an inch. That's about how far it is away from where it originally was set up for. So I'm going to have to build a little spacer for that, but I needed to get that moved out so that the outside edge of the chain wouldn't rub on the chain guard. But we got all that lined up. And that's a real important part because that is the bracket for the back side of the electric starter. It's a pretty cool feature. It ties it right back into the case real nice. Gives you a cool little chain card with a case saver, but did have to move that out a little bit. So I got a spacer to build there. Backing up a little bit, got the subframe all installed. I do use the factory subframe Allen screws. I like them. They fit in there really well, and probably the biggest thing is they have really good shear strength and they're designed to be in there. I know I could have just thrown some Chinese stainless steel bolts in there, but that's what's holding all the back end. That's holding the silencer. It's holding the rider. OEM's the best way to go for those. So got all those in. Got them all torqued down. You can see I got the factory flange nuts on the back side of those. And I go back, look around. You can see this is all the same as it was in the last video. Over on this side, if you ever zoomed in on the thumbnail had the motor painted, but it was still mocked up a little bit. We got everything all sealed up, got all the gaskets in, seals in. The water pump cover on this side, I haven't polished it yet. I think I'm going to have to do a little welding on it to get a fitting in it to make it clear the pipe. So I just vapor blasted it for now, and I'll get that all touched up. I did polish the fittings top and bottom, and I went ahead and used a clear reinforced hose. That way when we throw some green radiator fluid in this thing, it'll color match the motor. So power valves in, covers on. The cylinder is bored quite a bit bigger than original. Again, I'll post a motor video, but it is bigger than 500 now. Head's all on, head's all torqued. You can see the 38 or the 44 millimeter electrons on there. Snuck back in there right now with a modified KX500 reed, some carbon fiber reed pedals on it, and a KX500 intake boot. I'm going to run that and see if I like it. I also have one of our aftermarket custom KX500 Boyce and reeds. Try that as well. It is a quad, so a lot heavier than a dirt bike, and we're looking for a lot more torque. Anyway, so at the end of the last video, we were talking about motor mounts. You can see that I've got the motor set in there. It's actually sitting on a little block right now to mock it up and get it the right position that I want. I did have to remove some broken bolts. I'll take you over there. There were a couple of broken bolts in the motor mounts here. I was able to get this one out okay, but this one wanted to spin in the frame. Once they start to spin in the frame, it's not worth screwing with, so I had to go ahead and grind that one out and put a brand new nut insert in there. But the other one's pretty good. I got the bolts out of there was a broken bolt in one of these. These are the radiator mounts and the bracket for the fenders. So they need to all go back in there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and get some material out, get those front motor mounts built. The other thing I'm going to do is, you can see, probably can't see the size, but the front motor mount bolt on these is only 8mm. When we get the motor mounts all built, get everything lined up, I'm going to go ahead and drill both the cases and the motor mounts out to 10mm. They do need a bigger bolt in the front. 8mm is just not enough to do the job. So let's get to work on those motor mounts. So what we got here is a leftover piece of 3/16 thick 4130 chromoly plate from another job that I worked on a while back. It's actually part of a swing arm build that I did for a long swing arm with a Takati. Anyway, got this nice piece of plate. I contemplated using 1/8 inch. I could probably get away with 1/8 inch, but I prefer to make sure that front motor mount's strong. That is the motor mount that gets yanked on the most. The back of the motor's anchored in by the swing arm pivot bolt, which isn't going anywhere, but when you got a big set of paddle tires on this thing and you dump that clutch, it tries to yank those motor mounts right out of the frame. So I want to make sure this is good and stout. It's fairly complicated. I got a couple of bends I got to do in it, and the bends are at angles to each other, so I want to make sure that this thing's pretty stiff. So the chromoly will do real good with that, and we'll go ahead and start cutting on this thing and do some bending. Okay, so I just barely got enough. I just barely had enough material in that piece of plate to get these made. You can see what I've got here is a pair of mounts. This one is a little bit different because when I got them all laid in there, I did have to clearance a bit for the engine cases on the one side, but that wasn't too big of a problem. I've got a nice bend here. You can see I did these with a press brake, so they're not a sharp bend. Sharp bends weaken the joint quite a bit, so these have a pretty good radius in it. You can see what I was talking about earlier, where this is a 90 degree, well, not 90 degree, but it's the bend, this bend is perpendicular to this surface, so that's pretty easy to bend to make. However, they sit crooked in the frame. The frame actually angles, so you can see that because the frame angles and the motor is square, we have to put an angled bend. You can probably see that a little bit better like that. So you can see there's a bit of an angled bend in each one of these to go ahead and fit it up. I got a couple little goofy little circles drawn in here. I think I'm probably going to go back in with a hole saw and cut a couple holes in here. It really doesn't save much weight, but it'll look a little nicer and kind of help keep it from trapping sand. So let's go ahead and get these bolted into the frame and see how they fit on the motor. There's our motor mounts installed into the frame. Obviously you can see picked up the factory mounts there, got the mount there. It actually fit in pretty good. Had to go back and do a couple of little tweaks on the press brake to get the bends where I wanted them. Also, have a little extra material in front of that left-hand side, so I think I'm going to go ahead and trim that back just a little bit. See, this is the one that I had to radius a little bit. I wanted to make sure there's plenty of room between the case and the motor mount, but I am going to bring this edge down a little bit, just to give it a little bit. I'll taper it from here up to here, give it a little bit better look, but it's got an 8mm bolt in it right now. I just want to make sure there's a 8mm hole in the bracket right now as well. So everything fit on there pretty good. I'm happy with those. They're pretty good and stout. Like I said, nice radius. We'll go ahead and drill those up and throw a 14mm bolt in there. Got it all drilled out and a 10mm bolt installed and tightened all down. Came out pretty good. All right, now it's time to install some brackets in the radiator, get the tank permanently installed, and start fitting the pipe. And a pair of factory Kawasaki KXF 450 upper radiator mounts installed with some factory bolts. Got the lower mount installed. You can see it attaches to the frame there. Those are the lower two radiator mounts, and then out here on the end we have the fender brackets. So the next thing to do is install the radiator and see how things start fitting up. Here we have the radiator dropped in. It's just setting in there right now. It's not permanently fastened. It fits in there pretty good. It lines up really well with the lower mounts. It's just, sitting in there right now. Both of the lower mounts line up just fine. Fits in between the bracket. But then when I come up here, I'm quite a ways off to one side on the factory mounts. So it almost looks like I need to move the factory mounts. But then I did a little bit of checking, measuring, got a little more radiator out of that side, less radiator out of that side. So ultimately, I do need to move the radiator back so that it lines up with the factory mounts. And that's going to get me where I need to be in the top. And then I'm going to have to do something with the bottom mounts to get those to line up. So I'll get some grommets put in that radiator and go ahead and get that fastened so I know exactly where it's going to be. And then I'll have to tweak that bottom bracket a little bit. The other thing we have to deal with is the radiator has the inlet and the outlet spigots on the right hand side of the bike. Let's go around over there real quick. Both of the water fittings on this radiator are on the right hand side. So that means that I've got a nice run from the water pump to the bottom hose spigot, which is perfect. Like I said earlier, I did leave the hose or the water pump cover is just blasted right now because there's a bolt-on fitting that goes out the front that I'm going to have to probably modify to get the hose to route around the pipe properly. But the upper fitting is also on the right-hand side. The water exits on the left-hand side of the head over here. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to have to cut off that hose bung on the far upper right-hand side, and I will have to relocate it right over to here. Not a big deal, just a little bit of work and some TIG welding, but I'll have to go back and move that. Again, I'm not going to move that until I have the pipe fitted in so I know how much room I have to work around and where's the best location. But little task that I'm going to have to do there to move that. The other thing that I need to do yet is you can see there's an upper motor mount on the back side of the head that I need to build to mount up to the frame and tie the motor in at the top, but the pipe goes up through there on the right hand side. So I'm going to wait until I have the pipe fitted in there, and then I'll know where to clearance from my mounts. So the next video will be building the pipe, because that's really the next big obstacle. Quite a few hours into doing that. I won't make you watch all the gory details, but I'll get the pipe started and get it all fitted in there, get the silencer built, and then I'll be on to more of the finish up kind of details. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like the videos, please like and subscribe. I don't make any money off of these videos. I don't have enough subscribers, and Takati four-wheelers aren't the most popular thing, but if you like, you subscribe. Potentially I might get a little something out of it for the time that it takes to do the videos. And thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.